Be me 32, civil engineer at a mid-sized consulting firm. Wake up this morning and stare at my ceiling for 20 minutes before getting out of bed. Can't stop thinking about something that happened yesterday. Something so small and stupid that it's been eating at me like acid. Yesterday at the office kitchen, making my third coffee of the day. Trevor from Structural was there, fumbling with the new espresso machine. He's been at the firm for like 2 years, sits 3 cubicles down from me. I literally could not tell you his last name if you put a gun to my head. He made some joke about the machine being more complicated than the bridge design we're working on. I did that thing, that polite closed-mouth smile, grabbed my mug, and left. Didn't even register his existence, beyond obstacle between me and caffeine. But here's the thing that's messing with me. As I walked away, I caught my reflection in the break room window, and I saw my face change the moment I turned the corner. Saw myself light up because I spotted James from the executive floor heading toward the elevator. James, who I've never spoken to beyond good morning. James, who is definitely married based on the ring and the framed photo on his desk that I've definitely noticed despite never being in his office. Felt my posture change, felt myself suck in my stomach, adjust my hair. All automatic, all unconscious. Stood there in the hallway after he passed, coffee getting cold in my hands, and had this moment of absolute clarity that made me want to vomit. When was the last time I actually looked at Trevor? Like actually saw him as a human being, let alone a man. Went back to my desk and couldn't focus on the drainage calculations I was supposed to finish. Started mentally cataloguing every male colleague I interact with. The partners I laugh at their jokes, even when they're not funny. The senior engineers I make sure to greet every morning. The clients I subtly flirt with during presentations. All of them have something. Some quality that makes them visible to me. Height, status, deep voice, corner office, expensive watch, good hair, confidence that borders on arrogance. Then there's everyone else, the technicians, the junior engineers, the IT guys, the support staff. And I realized with this creeping horror that I treat them like furniture. Not badly, I'm not rude, I say please and thank you. But I don't see them. They don't exist in my field of vision as men, as potential partners, as sexual beings. They're just neutral human-shaped objects that perform functions. Sitting here at my desk, trying to remember any conversation I've had with Trevor beyond work stuff, drawing a complete blank. But I can tell you exactly what James wore last Friday. I can tell you that Marcus from the client services has a gym routine because his shoulders have gotten broader. I can tell you that the new project manager has this way of leaning against door frames that does something to my brain, chemistry. Meanwhile, there's probably 10 guys on my floor whose eye color I couldn't name. Decided to scroll through my dating app matches during lunch. Looked at my requirements filter. 6 feet tall, minimum, I'm 5 feet 6 inches. Income above 80,000, I make 75,000. College degree required, I have one. Seems fair, right? Started looking at the guys I've swiped left on. Just endless sea of faces I rejected in half a second. Some of them were probably perfectly fine humans. But they didn't grab me. Didn't stand out. Didn't make me feel anything. Closed the app feeling like I needed to shower. Remembered this guy from 3 years ago. Met him at a friend's birthday dinner. His name was David. He was a middle school teacher. We sat next to each other. He was actually funny. We talked about urban planning and architecture. He had this enthusiasm about his job, about teaching kids. That was genuinely sweet. He was maybe 5 feet 9 inches, average build, average face, wore a sweater with a small stain on the sleeve. He asked for my number at the end of the night. I gave it to him because it felt rude not to. He texted me 2 days later, asking if I wanted to get coffee. I remember staring at that text and feeling nothing. Not repulsion, not interest, just nothing. Told him I was really busy with work, but thanks. He said no problem, maybe some other time. Never followed up, neither did I. Week later, I matched with a guy on the app who had photos of himself rock climbing and sailing. Turned out he worked in his dad's company and had the personality of dry toast. Went on 3 dates with him anyway because he looked good in photos and knew wine. He eventually ghosted me and I was upset for like 2 weeks. David the teacher never crossed my mind again until today. What the heck is wrong with me? Started thinking about all the times I've complained about dating. All the conversations with my friends about how men are trash. How there are no good guys out there. How everyone on the apps just wants hookups. How modern dating is broken. Sitting here realizing I've been lying to myself this entire time. There probably are good guys out there. I just literally don't see them. They're invisible to me. Like how people say service workers are invisible to rich people. Except I'm not rich, and I consider myself aware of class dynamics. I've read the books, I've examined my biases, I call out objectification. I've had full-blown arguments with my dad about how women shouldn't be judged on appearance. I've written emails to HR about dress code policies being sexist. But apparently, I'm doing the exact same thing, just in reverse, just quietly, just in a way that lets me maintain my self-image as evolved, remembered this moment from 6 months ago. Company happy hour at some trendy bar downtown. I was talking with Sarah from accounting about her divorce. This guy approached us, clearly working up courage. He was probably our age, decent looking in a plain way, khakis and a button down. Asked if he could buy me a drink. I did the I'm in the middle of a conversation face and turned back to Sarah. He apologized and left. Sarah and I laughed about it after, about the audacity of interrupting. But here's the thing I'm remembering now. 20 minutes later, a different guy approached. Taller, better dressed, had this smooth way of inserting himself into our conversation. He was definitely more attractive in a conventional way. I didn't get annoyed at all. I actually felt flattered. Ended up talking to him for an hour, gave him my number, went on 2 dates. He turned out to be incredibly self-absorbed, and we had nothing in common. But I gave him a chance I didn't give the first guy. The first guy who I don't even remember what he looked like beyond not tall enough to notice. Started thinking about my ex-boyfriends. Ryan, who was 6 feet 3 inches and worked in finance, cheated on me with someone from his gym. Marcus, who had his own marketing agency, turned out to have a coke problem. Alex, who was a personal trainer, dumped me over text after 4 months. Seeing a pattern here. All of them had something that made them stand out in a room. All of them had status markers that registered to me as valuable. All of them treated me like I was replaceable. Because they could. Because they had options. Because women like me were lining up. Women like me who couldn't see anyone else. There was this guy in my engineering cohort in college. His name was Ben. We were lab partners for 2 semesters. He was reliable, smart, always did his part of the work. We'd stay late in the lab sometimes, talk about our projects, our families. He had this quiet sense of humor that caught me off guard sometimes. I genuinely enjoyed his company, never once considered him romantically. Not because he did anything wrong, he just didn't activate whatever part of my brain that recognizes men as potential partners. He was just Ben, my lab partner, nice guy, probably 5 feet 8 inches, kind of soft around the middle, graduated and lost touch. Saw on LinkedIn a few years ago that he got married. His wife looks happy in the photos. I felt nothing when I saw it, just scrolled past. But I can still remember the name of a guy I made out with once at a bar in 2019, because he was tall and had cheekbones and made me feel like I won something. Sitting in my apartment now, lights off, laptop glow on my face. Going through my mental archive of every male interaction I can remember, trying to find evidence that I'm not as shallow as I'm afraid I am. Coming up empty. The guy who helps me at the grocery store, always friendly, probably asked me out once in a subtle way that I deflected without thinking. The neighbor who offered to help me move furniture, seems nice enough, never registered as date-worthy. My friend's brother, who's apparently been asking about me according to her, I actively avoided him at her last party because he's not my type. Well, what is my type exactly? Apparently men who make me feel status adjacent. Men who other women want. Men who look good in photos I can show people. Men who fit some template I've absorbed from every movie and TV show and Instagram post. The height thing is really bothering me now. Why do I care so much about height? I've literally rejected perfectly nice men because they were under 6 feet. What the heck does height have to do with compatibility or kindness or shared values? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I can feel it in my body, that preference, like it's hardwired. When I see a tall man, I register it immediately, feel something shift in my attention. Short guys just don't compute as sexual beings to me. Average guys don't compute as sexual beings to me. How is this different from men who only date women under a certain weight? I've called that shallow. I've said that's objectification. I've said that's reducing women to their bodies. But I'm doing the same thing, just with different metrics. Height, status, income, confidence, conventional attractiveness. All things men can't necessarily control or that have nothing to do with who they are as people. Remembered a conversation I had with my mum last year. She was asking why I'm still single, doing the mum thing. I went on this whole rant about how men my age are either taken or broken, how the good ones are snatched up by 25, how everyone left is damaged or commitment phobic or just looking for hookups. My mum got this look on her face. She asked if I'd considered that maybe my standards were too narrow. I got defensive, told her I wasn't going to settle, She didn't push it, but I could tell she was thinking something she didn't say. I think I know what it was now. She wasn't saying I should settle for someone who treats me badly. She was saying, maybe I'm not seeing all the options. Maybe I'm filtering out perfectly good men because they don't meet some arbitrary checklist. Checklist I've never even consciously acknowledged having. Thought about making a list of requirements I supposedly have for a partner. Kindness, intelligence, shared values, emotional availability, sense of humor. All sounds great, very evolved, very focused on character, but that's not actually how I'm screening people. I'm screening them out before I even get to those qualities. Screening them out based on height and jaw C-line and job title and social confidence. Never even giving them a chance to demonstrate kindness or humor or values. Because they're invisible to me. They don't make it past the first filter. The filter I didn't know I had. The filter that apparently overrides all my stated preferences. Trevor from work keeps coming back into my mind. Went and looked him up on the company directory. Trevor Chen, structural engineer, been here 3 years, not 2. Looked at his photo, really looked at it. He has kind eyes. That's the first thing I noticed when I actually paid attention. Not handsome in a striking way, but not ugly either, just a normal human face. Apparently he went to a good school, has his PE license, does solid work. I know this because I've seen his calculations, I've been in meetings with him, I've just never seen him, don't even know if he's single, don't even know if I'm interested. But the fact that I don't know feels significant. The fact that I've worked near him for years and couldn't tell you basic things about his life, while I know that James on the executive floor has a boat and plays golf. Information I've absorbed through osmosis because I'm paying attention to James, because James is tall and has authority and wears expensive suits. Trying to figure out where this comes from. Is it biology? Is it social conditioning? Is it both? Do I actually need to be attracted to height and status to ensure genetic fitness for offspring I don't even want? Or have I just been marinating in cultural messaging about what makes a man valuable? Every romantic comedy where the lead is over 6 feet. Every romance novel with the CEO or the Duke or the billionaire. Every Disney movie where the prince is tall and handsome and royal. Every Instagram couple where the guy is noticeably taller in every photo. Maybe it's not my fault that I've internalized this, but it's still my responsibility, and I don't know what to do with that. Can you logic yourself into attraction? Can you rewire your brain to notice different things? Or is this just how it is, and acknowledging it changes nothing? The worst part is the hypocrisy. I've spent years criticizing beauty standards for women, talking about how messed up it is that women are valued for youth and thinness and conventional beauty. How we're objectified and reduced to our appearance. How we're expected to meet impossible standards while men can just exist. But I'm doing the same thing to men. Just different impossible standards, height they can't change, status that takes time and luck and often privilege to build. No, confidence that may not come naturally to everyone. Conventional attractiveness, that's just genetic lottery. And I'm excluding like 80% of men based on these criteria I wouldn't admit to having. Then complaining that there are no good men out there. Maybe there are good men out there. Maybe I'm just not looking at them. Maybe they're standing right in front of me making jokes about espresso machines. And I'm too busy craning my neck to see if someone more impressive is walking by. Checked my dating app again. Looked at my match queue. Bunch of guys who all look similar. Tall, fit, good hair, professional photos, impressive job titles in their bios. The guys who get overwhelmed with matches. The guys who can afford to be picky. The guys who ghost because they have 10 other conversations going. I'm competing for these men. These men who have so many options that I'm basically interchangeable, while completely ignoring men who might actually value me. Men who might be excited to meet someone with shared interests. Men who might be available and eager and consistent, because they're not fighting off constant attention, because they're normal, because they're invisible. Felt sick typing that. Felt sick realizing that's exactly what I think. Some men are visible and valuable and worth competing for. Other men are invisible and forgettable and not worth consideration. How is this equality? How is this feminism? How is this anything other than me being exactly what I claim to hate? Someone who judges human beings on superficial nonsense. Someone who perpetuates harmful hierarchies. Someone who contributes to a system where most people feel inadequate. Except I've been thinking of myself as a victim of this system, not a participant in it, not someone enforcing it. Remembered this article I shared on social media about how beauty standards harm women. Wrote a whole caption about how we need to value women for more than appearance. Got like 100 likes, felt very righteous about it, Meanwhile, I'm out here swiping left on guys who don't meet my height requirement, not even reading their profiles, just measuring them against my invisible checklist and finding them lacking. The cognitive dissonance is crushing. Don't know how I didn't see this before. Or maybe I did see it and chose not to examine it. Because examining it meant admitting I'm not who I think I am. I'm not some evolved person who values character over superficial traits. I'm just as shallow as everyone else. Maybe more so because I'm a hypocrite about it. Thought about texting David the teacher. 3 years later, out of nowhere, "Hey, sorry I was busy for 3 years. Want to get that coffee now?" Yeah, that's not insane at all. He's probably in a relationship anyway. Probably with someone who actually saw him. Someone who didn't need him to be 6 feet tall or have a prestigious job. Someone who valued his enthusiasm and his humor and his kindness. Things I noticed but didn't weight as important. Because they didn't come in the right packaging. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with this realization. Do I force myself to go on dates with men I'm not attracted to? That seems unfair to everyone involved. Do I try to retrain my brain to notice different things? Is that even possible? Do I just accept that I'm shallow and stop pretending otherwise? That feels like giving up. Maybe the answer is just awareness. Maybe just seeing this pattern is the first step. Maybe I start actually looking at the men I've been treating as invisible. Not forcing attraction, but at least acknowledging their humanity. At least considering that my instant dismissal might be based on nonsense criteria. At least being open to the possibility that someone could surprise me, if I gave them a chance. If I saw them, decided to do an experiment tomorrow, going to actually talk to Trevor. Not because I'm trying to date him necessarily, just to see if I can have a conversation with a man I've deemed invisible and actually be present. Actually listen, actually engage, actually see him as a full human being. Not a potential partner, not a status symbol, not a trophy, just a person. Seems like a low bar, but apparently that's where I'm at, wondering how many women are in the same boat. How many of us are loudly advocating for equality while quietly maintaining hierarchies? How many of us are complaining about shallow men while being just as shallow? How many of us are filtering out perfectly good humans because they don't meet standards we won't acknowledge having? How many invisible men are out there, going about their lives, being kind, being decent, being perfectly dateable, while women like me look right through them, waiting for someone impressive to notice, someone tall enough, successful enough, confident enough, someone visible, someone who probably has options and knows it, someone who probably won't choose us anyway, because they don't have to. The math doesn't math. If all the women want the same small percentage of men, and those men have endless options, and the rest of the men are invisible, then everyone ends up miserable. The women competing for scraps of attention from men who are overwhelmed. The invisible men being ignored despite being available and interested. The visible men probably exhausted from being everyone's target. Whole thing is messed up. And I'm part of the problem, not the victim of it, the perpetrator of it. That's the part that's hard to swallow. Wanted to talk to my friends about this, but I already know how it would go. They'd either think I'm being too hard on myself, or they'd get defensive because they do the same thing. Or they'd tell me I shouldn't settle for someone I'm not attracted to, which is technically true, but also missing the point. The point is, maybe my attraction is broken. Maybe it's been shaped by forces I didn't consent to. Maybe it's leading me to pursue people who are wrong for me, while ignoring people who might be right for me. Maybe attraction isn't this sacred, unchangeable thing. Maybe it's at least partially learned. And if it's learned, maybe it can be unlearned, or at least examined, or at least acknowledged as potentially problematic. Looked in the mirror before bed, felt like I was seeing myself clearly for the first time in a while. Not the version of myself I present to the world, the progressive, thoughtful, equality-minded woman, but the actual me, the me who judges men on height and status and looks, while expecting not to be judged the same way, the me who is complicit in the same systems I critique, the me who is maybe not as evolved as I thought, don't have any answers, don't have a resolution, don't even know if I'm going to change anything. Maybe tomorrow I'll talk to Trevor and feel nothing, and this was all pointless. Maybe I'm just wired this way, and awareness changes nothing. Maybe I'll keep swiping left on perfectly fine men and wondering why I'm alone. Maybe that's just how it is. But at least now I know. At least now I see it. The invisible men. And my role in making them invisible. Lying in bed, can't sleep. Keep thinking about all the Trevors and Davids and Bens. All the men I've looked through instead of at. Wondering if they know they're invisible. Wondering if they've figured out the pattern. wondering if they resent it or accept it or have just given up, wondering what it feels like to be decent and kind and available. And completely overlooked probably feels like how I feel when men only value me for my appearance, or when I get passed over for a promotion because I'm a woman, or when I'm not taken seriously in meetings. Feels like being reduced to a category instead of seen as an individual. Feels like being judged on things that don't define you. Feels like being invisible despite being right there. Yeah, probably feels exactly like that. Fuck.